So here's where we left off with the part 2 of our drawing 12 for our little house plan. Um, we got the ridge lines in and we created the top view using our width and our depth information, our width information from the front view and our depth information from the side view. But we didn't put in the little chimney. And so we'll just, I think that actually the chimney shows, just kind of shows how the projectors can be used in a nice way. So I'm just going to eliminate everything except the 45, and I'm just going to draw in just the chimney projectors. So this is the width of the chimney, and now we don't know where it is on the depth, right? The depth is this way, the width is that way. So we project over. This has got the depth on it, right? So project that over, project this over, and now we have this little square that represents the two side-to-side lines and the two vertical lines. And we can just go over to our object layer now and draw in. I'm using the intersection snap there. And now we have to trim out that ridge line out of the middle. So we have our little chimney. So now we're ready to do the isometric part of the assignment. And I'll just start by snapping on my grid and putting it in ISO just so I can get a location for some layout axes. And we'll move this to its final location once we're done. Now I want to put in some guidelines that are lined up with the isometric axis. So I have to make sure that I have selected 30 degrees. Before I had it on 45. So just make sure it's on 30 degrees, and so that you can get that polar tracking line. And then we'll get one going over here at, be careful not to let the snaps take over. I want to make sure we get that off. I'm waiting. There we go. So there I'm at 150. And then one line on the 90. And just so we're not too crowded, I'm going to move everything from its endpoint. And we'll just move it over here a little bit so it's not so crowded. And I'll put my grid back on. Grid snap. Alrighty. So now we're ready to draw some object lines. And basically you're transferring these views onto the faces of your isometric. This will be where the front view goes, and this side will be where the right view is. And we have our overall drawing dimensions. So I'm going to start a line using that as a base point, but actually drawing what would be this corner of this view over here. So I'm starting over there, and I'm just using my direct distance with the dimension that was given to get that line. And then I know from the dimensions that was given that the vertical component of that face is, for the vertical part, is 1.4. And then I know that coming back, it's 2.5. And we'll just make sure, you have to make sure you got things, so that's going to be trimmed. So that's the lower part of that. Now, we know that the vertical component of this eave, these eaves, is right here, right? from the top of the wall to the top of the ridge. It's that far vertically, and I can see from my my properties that it's 0.937. It's kind of an odd distance. So instead of putting that in directly, I'm just going to copy that odd line, you know, and I'm going to use the base point on it, and I'm going to put it right at the middle of this wall. So that's a layout line. So the top of the ridge is here, and the bottom of that, this foreshortened slope, this roof slope is right there. So I can use those 2 points, the 2 endpoints that were solved using true distances to get this slope, which is now, this is very wonky, you know, it's doesn't look real. But we'll just leave it there. We'll have some confidence. So now when we go from the ridge back, that total distance is given as on the right view, it's given as 3.6. So let's just put in a line that's 3. Make sure you get your polar tracking on 3.6, and that's interrupted by the chimney, but for right now. And we can copy these wonky lines, these unusual lines, non-parallel, as long as we copy them along perpendicular or parallel to one of our major axes. So that's the 2 foreshortened slopes, and they have a line. This one here connects the bottom of the roof. Now this is going to change a little bit when that other roof comes in, but just for to get our eye going, that's how we're going to do it. And then now when we're looking at the front, this right here, the wall turns, and so this is the face that we want to draw right there, and that face is right, it's 2. So I'm going to draw a line starting there on my axis, 2, and then we'll just run it right up to the edge of the roof. Now, so here was the front. We drew this side, and now we're going to draw that side. Right? That's the other front-facing wall, and so we need to know this distance, and that distance is 2.2. So we'll just put this line in on the axis, 2.2, and again we'll come up. The wall height is 1.4. and just want to make sure that we close that off correctly. So that's that turn. And now on the right view, we're looking at, so this was this wall. We're looking at this space here, and that distance is 1.6. So we can just draw another line, 1.6. And again, up 1.4 is the overall wall height, and that closes that off. And just kind of like we did before, we want to figure out what is the vertical component of this this roof pitch. And I mean, I could measure that, but if I project over here, I can see that the vertical component of it is, and I have to just select this one line, I can see that the length is 0.6. And so I can just go from the middle of this line up 0.6. And that allows me to draw that pitched roof in there. Close it off. So now let's do the ridge on that. This is the ridge. It's 3. So I'm going to draw it in as 3 on my axis. 3. And that's where this roof intersects. Now, the truth is, where that roof ends, there's a line that comes down this way, right? And it's hidden, but it is clearly shown right here that the roof edge ends, goes from basically the roof runs from the ridge to the top of the wall, and it intersects in a valley with the other roof. And the same is true going on the other side. It runs from the ridge to the edge of the building, and it changes elevation, height, so that it's just as tall as the wall line right there. And just going to get rid of that line. And we will also need to put in this back edge here where the foreshortened slope is terminated. So now we have pretty well done the building. So let's do the chimney. Chimney height above the ridge is given by this line. It's 0.4625, and you know, I don't trust myself to remember that or type it in correctly. So I'm just going to take that vertical distance and copy it over to here. And I'm very deliberately putting it at the front edge of the building. And then I'm just going to draw the chimney based on that over the given distance was 0.3, and we can take it straight down till it intersects with the roof. And then we're going to do another line that goes up here this way, 0.3, and that one will also come down and intersect the roof. So now we have sort of a silhouette of the chimney, but it's not in the correct place along the ridge. And so we'll use the information that was given on the right side, and we're going to move that whole thing. We're going to move well, we don't need that. We're going to move this from here, and we're going to have it on the axis, and we're going to go back the given distance of 0.13. And we can copy that now and put in the other side of it by copying it on the axis the given distance of 0.4. So now we have those two edges, and we can just clean up the edges. And now some of this we're not going to be able to see, right? We're not going to be able to see that. This is that little height piece. We don't need either of those. We can get rid of that. And then we can draw in the connection. Oh, actually we do need that because I need to draw that from that back corner up to the ridge line and then over to this corner so that I get that, because this is straddling the roof. It's the only way we're going to be able to show them. And so that little, these little verticals are actually very important. And now we can remove anything that's unneeded, which would be this also. And then trim out from the back. Oops. Trim out here and trim out Shift select unselects. Enter. So there you have your drawing before you move it over to within 1 inch of the other drawing, which I won't show on this video.